there's anybody in this room apart from the Odlum family who know the relationship between Hollis and John, it would be me, because it's a relationship that goes back into their respective childhoods. It is as emotionally difficult for Hollis as it is for me today to speak of John. And I know that for Hollis, it's a difficult moment, but I just want to reassure him that the two of us together will be able to manage the deep emotions that we feel on this occasion. Many of us present were here at this school just a week ago for the symbolic handover to every school on Ireland, over 3,800 laptops for the students of Form 3. Today we are here to celebrate the memory of Jon Odlum and to cast his name in stone to recognize him as another great St. Lucian, a giant of a man who has contributed to our development. I miss Jon Odlum. There is no other politician that I miss in my life as Jon Odlum. And I mean no disrespect to my colleagues who are here with me, because they know and they understand how I feel about John. I must, however, tell Claudius, who normally is impeccable in his historical references, that John and I do not go back to 1996, but rather well before 1997, when the Labour Party won that historic election. Someday will come when I will be able to share with you and the people of St. Lucia the personal episodes of that period, the unique experiences I had, because I'm the only one of this current cabinet that sat at the cabinet table when warfare broke out in the Labour Party government of 97. Or 79. And I tell you this because Jon Odlum sat next to me in cabinet. And he saved many a very difficult day in that cabinet. Somehow he was always able to say something that caused eruption and laughter and diffused the tensions that filled the air. Those who carried firearms would gently put aside the firearms when John brought laughter to his colleagues. Someday I will be able to tell that story and the unique role that John played in that very difficult period. He really was a wonderful human being. So Stanley Nicholas Jon Odlum would not be a name known by the many students of the school, as his retirement from active politics coincided with the opening of this school in the year 2006. I know many of you students are perplexed why the choice of name. And for you, the naming of a school matters because you want to believe that the person in whose name a school is announced is not only a fitting individual, but that person can inspire you. That person can be an example to you in all that you do, in all that you achieve. You will not be disappointed. Our current Member of Parliament for Castries South and Minister for Education Dr. Robert K. Lewis had just entered the political service, while Jon bowed out after 23 years of political representation. This undoubtedly left him as the longest-serving representative of Castries South. If he were still alive today, Jon would have been celebrating his 80th birthday this year. Am I right, Mamoy? Jon's closeness to the people of this area is legendary. It started far beyond his involvement in politics. In St. Lucia's pre-independence era, when Chief Minister George F.L. Charles, another representative of Castries South, led the country, Jon, as you heard, served as one of the first labor and social welfare officers. And I really want you to understand the defining character that Jon was, because, you see, in the reinterpretation of the history of this country, people kept on saying and believing that it was George Odlum who made Jon what he was. That's not so. That never was so. It was Jon because of the unique person and individual who he was, who carved out a name for himself, who in fact was able to anchor George Odlum and inspire him and remind him of the social conditions that had to shape the politics that the two of them championed. It was Jon Odlum who gave George his ideological purity at the time and his ideological sensitivities and his ideological sophistication. That is why we have to rewrite the history of this country away from what is often said by an uninformed media. Jon beat the pavement and the muddy parts of the cul-de-sac, Marigot, Bar St. Joseph, and Roseau valleys, interacting with the people of these areas, sharing their triumphs and failures, their tears and their pain, their hopes and dreams. He was a man who could feel. He was a man who understood anguish, who somehow was able to enter the heart, the spirit of everyone whom he met. He knew very well their plight, their deep poverty, their hand-to-mouth conditions. He always championed education, as you heard, as a means of lifting people out of the debilitating conditions of poverty. He knew that education was the only answer to the poverty that had been cultivated from the days of the sugar plantations. As such, this school here at Marigot is effectively the tangible pinnacle of a dream, an institution which represents the zenith of Jon's belief that education was the key to the future of the downtrodden and dispossessed. This school has a special place in our history. And how much I appreciated the performances by our students this morning, because in a remarkable way they captured the person who Jon Odlum was. They captured his feelings not just about education, but precisely how children should be taught and children should be developed. Jon was really a complete and total individual. He was not just a champion of the poor or politician. He was not just a humanist. He was not just someone you could lean on, but he was more than that, an all-rounder, an outstanding sports personality. And I leave that aspect of his life for many of you to discover. And when I learn of the prowess of the students of this school, then I would say that Jon would be very, very proud that the legacy that he championed so much is given life. It was effectively then the last public secondary school, as you heard, constructed and opened on this island as we pursued at the time the achievement of universal secondary education. USC, as it was dubbed, was an important achievement for this country and indeed for the administration that I led in 2006. As Dr. Lewis said, and many at the time, and perhaps some even now, believe that USC should not have been pursued. It was an incredibly myopic and elitist view to hold, but it is a reality. Some people do not believe in the equity of education. They believe that there should exist an uneducated class upon which to construct an economy to benefit from low wages. I don't share that. I believe that hidden in every child in this country is some raw talent, some passion, some creativity. And all we need to do as educators somehow is to unlock it, to discover the secrets in every child. And those who are not able to get a chance in life because their parents may be poor, dispossessed, we need to give it to them because this country's future must be defined by the quality of minds that we have. And in each and every one of you, there is a genius, perhaps sleeping, awaiting your time and your moment in history. So, for me, I am resoundingly unapologetic in my belief that education is a basic right, that education is a ladder out of poverty, that education provides the knowledge and skills upon which society and economy are built, and that there must be equity and equality in education for all our children. That is why I insisted that no matter what the financial difficulties and challenges may be, that we have to search for ways and means to make sure that every child in a secondary school enters this new world, this incredible world of technology, so that they can be placed on the same platform with any child anywhere in the world and to compete on a level playing field. This school, to be renamed in Jon's honor and memory, was situated here, as you heard, to strategically serve the people of the two valleys, but also the West Coast communities of Ancillary and Canaries. While most of the students at Canaries would go to school at Soufriere, Ancillary always found itself sending its children to secondary schools in Castries. As it was difficult finding a suitable location in Ancillary, and coupled with the fact that the population of the district of Ancillary also encompassed people of the Roseau Valley, this site was chosen as the most accessible for the majority of people across the constituencies of Ancillary, Castries South, and Castries Southeast. Of course, this was much to the chagrin of Ancillary MP at the time, Cyprian Lancico, who was hoping that the school would have fallen within the boundary of Ancillary, but even he would concede that this was the right decision. And as I speak to you on this, I can never forget the cabinet discussion when that debate took place. Both Cyprian and Jon were in cabinet, and both argued as to where the school should be located, with Mario Michel in the middle of it as the then Minister of Education. It was a passionate debate. Cyprian Lancico, as you know, believed that the world revolved around him and Ancillary and Canaries alone, and would not accept any reason that it was time that a secondary school be placed in Ancillary Canaries. Jon was a master of persuasion, reminding Cyprian of the hills the valleys. And one time he said to Cyprian, "Me camarade, quand tu as mis l'école là, ou pas ni là pour mettre l'école là. Qui est moi prêté une place pour mettre l'école là?" And everybody burst out laughing. And when it was all over, he leaned across to Cyprian, and everybody in the cabinet would hear him, and he'd say, "Saleh Poisa." Typical John. And all of us just roared with laughter and ended the conversation at that point. And when you look at it, this school, given its facilities, is the best appointed in the entire District 4, if not one of the best in the country. And I applaud you, Madam Principal, for your achievements. By naming the school after John, I hope we can breathe new life, new meaning, and new purpose into this institution. At the level of the school, to the students and teachers, I hope you see this naming as an opportunity to reinvigorate and redefine this institution. I urge you to embrace the new name with pride, dignity, honor, and hope. John was not merely a politician. I understand sometimes how you all feel about politicians, that we all a waste of time or whatever the case might be. You've become very cynical about politicians and their contributions. But I tell you this, in this country we have to learn to give thanks and praise to people who have helped to change our lives. Sometimes we never understand the value of people until they're long gone, and that's a tragedy. Somebody like John should have been held up in reverence a long time ago. He was a social activist, a man who understood compassion, a humanist unapologetically committed to the emancipation of the dispossessed. He was a man of the people. He was never fazed, no matter the challenge that he faced. He was always cheerful, always defined by a smile. He was a wonderful human being whose memories I will always honor and always cherish. I don't know sometimes whether it's a wise thing to allow people an entry into your own private life, your private domain sometimes. But there are moments when it's perhaps a good thing to do so that people can understand a little better how you feel about certain things. Hardly a day passes in my life if somehow I do not recreate an image of Jon Odlum in my mind. He is always present, he is always there. And you may not know this, but when I went through my own most difficult periods in my political life to date, when all kinds of challenges and issues were put in my way, John was always there to comfort me. Always. Always. Sometimes it was a phone call. Sometimes he would just drive up to my house and sit with me a while and soothe me, calm me, nurse me. That's why it's a friendship that I honor so, so much. John knew that even if one did not have much, that was no excuse for being downtrodden, depressed, and demotivated. He was the eternal optimist and looked to the future with hope, confidence, and conviction. I ask you to embrace not just his political legacy, but his eyes and his heart. I ask that you defend his name and make him proud. Let the humanitarian instincts that define Jon Odlum find its way into the spirit of the school as it shapes generations of our students. Jon O has found a new home here, and I'm sure you will keep him smiling. Ladies and gentlemen, students, I salute a giant of a man, and I thank you for the opportunity to say a few words for a man I love deeply. Thank you.
After three, we'll do it together.
1, 2, 3. Yes, let me just read what the plaque says. Jon Odlum Secondary School. This plaque commemorates the renaming of the Marigot Secondary School in honor of Honorable Jon Odlum, an indefatigable community activist and parliamentarian for 22 years, whose love for the children of the constituency of Castro South was legendary. Constructed under the St. Lucia OECS Education Development Project in 2006, unveiled by Honorable Dr. Kennedy Anthony, Prime Minister of St. Lucia, on March 1, 2016. So I was actually the ceremony.